Carol Haney. Bill Pate. Sig Hutchison.
I'm here.
Greg Ford. Chad Sari.
Present.
Jones. John Lutz. John Boyette. David McGowan. Jim Uzzle. Larry Laux.
Present. Larry Laux is present.
Lynn York. And I apologize if I butchered your name.
This is Wilma Laney. I'm present. I said something, but I don't think you could hear me before.
Let's see. Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that I missed? Okay, thank you. We do have a quorum, Chairman Raines.
Thank you, Renee. It's next is my honor and privilege. We have two former delegates and two former mayors that have passed away in the last 2 months, and it's my privilege to for us to have a resolution in memory and honor. The first one is Mayor Ronnie Williams, who was mayor of the town of Garner. He was mayor from 2005 to 2019. He also served 20 years prior to that on the town council, and the resolution is attached, but he was also a delegate to Triangle J from 2003 to 2019. And he will be missed for his leadership, not only in Triangle J, but for the town of Garner and Wake in Johnston County. And I've asked Mayor Marshburn to add to those comments.
Okay, Don, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to be brief, and thank you for the honor to do this. I'm sure Mayor Williams was proud of the time that he served with Triangle J. Just a little background information, and this comes from a news release at the time of his death. During his service of more than 3 decades, the town of Garner grew from a sleepy community along a rail line to a dynamic, fast-growing suburb of over 30,000 residents adjacent to downtown Raleigh. Had the privilege of making a comment or two about Ronnie, and here's one that I shared. Under his leadership, Garner experienced a transformation that brought prosperity and opportunity while maintaining our town's unique charm and character. Garner's ability to grow while maintaining its vital community spirit and identity is a testament to Mayor Williams' vision and his love for his hometown. It's worth noting that during his tenure as mayor, he helped guide the town through a tragedy when in 2009, an explosion at the old ConAgra plant on Jones Sausage Road killed 4 people. During his last term as mayor, the town was able to announce plans to redevelop that site as an Amazon fulfillment center, and the center recently opened, bringing over 3,000 jobs and $200 million of new investment to Garner. There are several other things to say about Ronnie. Ronnie was the mayor during the 12 years that I served as a town councilman. I considered him a friend and a person that I enjoyed spending time with. I appreciated his leadership and received guidance from him along the way, and was an alternate to the Triangle J during the time that he was the regular delegate, and so I often attended with him. Thank you to all of Triangle J for your remembrance of him, and on behalf of the town and also of his family, we're deeply grateful for your recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. There will be a resolution on our consent agenda. And now I would like to take a moment of silent prayer for his to honor Mayor Williams. So if everybody would we will have a moment of silence. Thank you. A copy of the resolution will be going to his family. And next is also Mayor Grimes of Siler City passed away October 20th. And he was a board member for Triangle J. Since 2017, he was an alternate. He provided leadership from 2013 until his death to the town of Siler City, as well as a county commissioner for Chatham County. And I know his leadership for Chatham County as well as for Siler City will be missed. And we want to acknowledge his contributions to Triangle J. So is Delegate Bill Hayes here? Bill?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Would you want to make some remarks?
Certainly. I appreciate that. And yes, Mayor Grimes will be sorely missed. And he actually also, in addition to his service as mayor and service as county commissioner, served the town of Siler City as a board member for District 4, which is the seat I actually occupy. He was there for 14 years prior to his election as mayor. And of the time that he spent as the District 4 commissioner, he was also the mayor pro tem for 10 years. And one thing that he also was known for is his love of all things Wake Forest. He played football at Wake Forest, was a teammate of Brian Piccolo, and was just absolutely in love with Wake Forest. He had scholarship offers from all of the ACC schools at that point in time, but chose Wake Forest because he was from Davie County and wanted to go somewhere close so that his parents could actually travel to see his games. He was also a recipient of the Order of the Longleaf Pine. And we're going to very much miss his leadership. And he has done so many good things over the period of time that he was on our board and as mayor. So thank you very much for this resolution and this honor. And I had mentioned it to his wife, and she was truly grateful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And the resolution will be going to his family. It's on our consent agenda. And now we'll have a moment of silent prayer in memory of Mayor Grimes. Thank you. And next is an honor to recognize Commissioner Ellen Reckhow, who has been serving for a long time for Durham County. And she's been our longtime rep for Triangle J in prior years, and she served on our foreign trades on board from 2002 to current. And she will be retiring, and we just want to acknowledge her role. And I will ask Renee, that's worked with her a long time, to make some comments, and Tom White, and whoever else wants to comment.
Thank you, Chairman Raines. Can everyone hear me? Great. Okay. I just want to say thank you to Ellen. I've worked with her since I started here at Triangle J many years ago, and it's been my pleasure. at the FTZ board meeting on last Wednesday. We also recognized Ellen for her service. I'm going to hold up a plaque, which you're not going to see because I have a background. Let me change that real quick. Just to, if it's going to let me. I'll do that and show you in a moment. But we have a plaque that we awarded her virtually. So we'll do it again tonight, and then we'll get that to her in reality. But first, I want to recognize Tom White. He's on the meeting with us, and he is the chairman of the FTZ board, and he's going to kick this off for us. Tom?
Thank you very much, Renee, and thank you, Chairman Raines and members of the. It's a high honor, great privilege, and distinct pleasure this evening to formally recognize someone who epitomizes the term public servant. Ellen Reckow has served with distinction on the Durham County Board of Commissioners for 32 consecutive years, as well as on our Research Triangle FTZ 93 Rates, Tariff, and Legal Review Board for 18 years. Ellen Reckow does not just show up for meetings. She is always prepared. She always does her homework, and she does not mail it in, even in a pandemic. She's ubiquitously forthright and diligent. Ellen is the recipient of a number of local, regional, and state awards, including the Goodman Award for Exemplary Regional Leadership by an elected official, the North Carolina Planning Association Elected Official of the Year, the Sierra Club Environmental Leadership Award. She's an Eisenhower Fellow. She's a recipient of the Dorothy B. Graham Child Care Services Award, the Kids Voting Champion of Democracy Award, the National Community Education Association Citizen Leadership Award, and the Partnership for Children's Champion for Children's Award. And Renee, I don't know if you can hold up the plaque now. I'll read that. What it says is, for unwavering service and dedication to the region's economic development and the Research Triangle Foreign Trade Zone. To Ellen Reckow. Ellen, please take a virtual bow while we accord you some virtual applause.
Ellen, with all the things you've done, you could be governor or president. So, if you'd like to make a few comments on your political and life and your service to Triangle J.
Well, thank you, John. It's really, first of all, I just want to say it's a pleasure to come back even virtually to a TJ-COG meeting. I actually cut my teeth as a beginning commissioner serving on committees of Triangle J and on the board. And I just want to say to all of you that you're doing important work at serving on this board, but even more importantly is you're learning a lot. And I found that what I learned at COG meetings helped me be a better commissioner. So I want to thank the COG. It has also been an honor for me to serve on the FTZ zone. When they presented me the plaque last week, which was a surprise, I was astonished. I hadn't realized I had served for 18 years. I guess time flies when you're having fun. But truthfully, it went fast because we have tremendous leadership. Tom is a terrific board chair, and Renee does a super job staffing the FTZ board. You can be very proud that we have a very dynamic board, and we have grown quite a bit. We're now serving 15 counties across the Piedmont. And I think the FTZ zone is an important tool in the toolkit as we attempt to recruit industry to the Triangle area. And so thank you very much for this. And I'll be continuing to be an active citizen, even as I go off the Board of County Commissioners, and forward to your continuing leadership to help our region.
Well, you have truly made the Triangle a better place to live, so thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And before we move away from this, I just wanted to recognize Rebecca Salmon and Bill Haggis to see if they had any comments. They both also serve on the FTZ board. Rebecca or Bill?
Sure, this is Rebecca. You know, we talked a little bit about this at our FTZ board meeting, and I've just always been so impressed with Ellen, with your leadership. Being in a meeting with you is just incredible. That you have a tempered, thoughtful, compassionate approach to really tackling really difficult subjects. And I've learned a lot by being in rooms with you, and I'm just inspired. I hope you've inspired a lot of other people as well to continue picking up and carrying on the type of leadership that you've really demonstrated in the community. And I just wish you all the best, and thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you.
And I'll echo that. I think I have not served with Ellen as long as Rebecca has, but I've been observing in meetings and just watching and learning from what she brings to the table. It's I think so far helped make me a better board member for the FTZ, and just really want to thank her for being that inspiration, and wishing her all the best for sure.
Thank you. And Lee, I know you wanted to, you've had many relationships with Ellen through the years.
Well, I was honored and lucky to actually get to work for Commissioner Reckow as a member of the Durham County staff, as a deputy county manager. And then I was very appreciative of Ellen and the other 4 commissioners' faith in me to appoint me as interim county manager of Durham County for a few months as they were searching. And I really enjoyed working with Commissioner Reckow on a number of items, and was just always so impressed with her, how prepared she was. And that's really important from a staff member's perspective, to know that your elected officials are asking good questions. They're not taking staff recommendations and just rubber stamping them, but they're asking the questions. They're representing their constituents, and she did that with a lot of passion, and she did it very honorably. And so it was just a lot of fun to work with Commissioner Reckow, and I appreciate your confidence in me over the years.
And we've also had comments from Jennifer Robinson and Pam Baldwin on chat. And if they want to add as well, they're certainly welcome.
I don't have that much to add. I just like to say, Ellen, thank you very much. I was a new commissioner when I first met you. You had been on the board for a while, but I certainly did learn things from you for that brief period of time that you were on there with me. And I thank you so very much for your service. And thank you for sharing all of your knowledge with each of us. Thanks again. And congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ellen. As you said, you're going to another status in life, but you're going to be there to help us as a consultant from now on.
I'll come back anytime you want. There's a special place in my heart for TJ Cog. I really mean it. And I appreciate the comments in the chat. So many of you mean so much to me. Steve and Jennifer and John. Oh, John Hodges Cockle. I can't tell you how much I have valued John as a resource. When we had sticky issues over the years, I'll always remember Eno Drive. I thought it was going to be the death of me. And John actually developed the compromise that carried the day. So, as I say, TJ is such a wonderful resource. And if you ever need an ad for the COG, I'll be first in line to be a champion for the great work that you do and the terrific staff that you have. So thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a presentation from the Research Triangle Park Foundation, and I'll turn it over to Lee to introduce our speaker and for the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Yeah, I'm really pleased and honored to have RTP Foundation President CEO Scott Levitin joining us this evening. I hope you've had a chance to meet Scott, but if perhaps you haven't, this will be a great opportunity for you to learn and to from Scott all the great things that are going on at RTP, and to learn about the park's vision and his vision for the future. As you know, the park is an extremely important piece of our region. And Scott, we appreciate all the work that you're doing on behalf of all of us in the Triangle region. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. Scott, you're on mute.
Now I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, sir.
And am I driving? Okay.
I certainly hope so.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come speak with you. Wow. Really difficult to follow Ellen Reckow. I've been here 3 years and she has been really she is just impressed. I've been so impressed with her commitment, and to have a planner in politics is just really phenomenal. This community benefits greatly from that. So thank you, Ellen. And I really appreciate you, Lee, inviting me to come tonight to talk about what we're doing at RTP. So I have a couple of slides. I thought I would run through sort of bricks and sticks things first that always get people excited. You know, what are we building? All of that. Have a moment to sort of answer some questions. And then because this is TJ COG, I'd like at the end to posit a conversation about some regional issues that we're thinking about at Research Triangle Foundation with our companies in the park. There are 310 of them, and try to sort of get some feedback on whether those are appropriate and important to our community, because it will help us. So just to remind people of RTP, not that you have to be reminded, but our mission has remained the same for about 60 years, 61 years now. Here it is on the screen. And I think that the last one is particularly important at this time as we think about social equity, counties outside of the three counties that make up the triangle. And it really is an important component of driving everything that we do at the foundation. I also, in a future slide, I'm going to be referring to something called Hub, and you can see that it is 100 acres right here in the middle of the 7,000 acres that comprise RTP. So a little bit about what we are. One of the benefits of our region, as you know better than me, is that we have very diverse technology sectors. And one would not think that our country was in the midst of an epidemic, given the kind of interest, activity, prospects, and in fact, transactions that are occurring since the beginning of the year in RTP. We have had some phenomenal transactions. They show up on a following slide, but just wanted to let you know this. So I mentioned that we have 310 companies in the park. I'm going to show you the frontier in a moment, but up until about 4 months ago, if you went to Wikipedia, you would see that the Wikipedia reported that we had 200 companies. There are over 100 companies located in the Frontier, which is a startup incubator campus that we converted from an old IBM campus. We call it Cheap and Cheery. That is really phenomenal because no one thinks about RTP as a incubator startup entrepreneurial kind of environment. We think of the big companies. And so we're very pleased that we have a very balanced portfolio within the park. Granted, I just talked about the little companies, but just to give you a sense of what has happened, just in 2020, these companies have announced that they are in the park, and $1.5 billion of investment, 2,000 jobs announced just since January. So a bit about sort of the bricks and sticks. The Frontier, for those of you who haven't been there, was a collection of about 500,000 square feet of totally obsolete buildings that sat vacant for over 10 years. They were formerly occupied by IBM, and they are in half of that hub campus that I pointed out on the first slide. 120 companies, 110 companies, we won't split hairs over it, but there are 1,600 direct jobs located in the Frontier, 55,000 total in RTP. And we made a $60 million investment in that site, but what's really important is being able to house these kind of companies in RTP and the kind of amenities that we're creating for that. We are not running an incubator in Frontier. We're running a community for companies. So we have a lot of programming. You can see yoga here. We have RTP 180, which is once a month. We have a special theme and folks come in, specialists come in and talk for 5 minutes, sort of tech type, TED type talks. That's hard to say, tongue twister. And I pop the popcorn, somebody else pulls the beer handle, and we get about 350 people a month. To give you an example, October, we do something about last year, October, RTP 180 was about death. And so people came in, they talked about really interesting 5-minute segments on death. If you're interested, your mind actually continues to spark for about 2 weeks after your body is declared dead. So that'll give you something to think about on Halloween. Now that's sort of a phenomenal success with respect to entrepreneurial tech companies, but the world isn't all about entrepreneurial tech companies. We broke ground at probably the very worst time last fall on a concept called Boxyard RTP. It's modeled after a facility that we discovered in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is also on the Frontier campus. It's 35 shipping containers. We're fully leased with about 12 unique local restaurants and retailers. The number is pretty phenomenal because it's only about 13,000 square feet of space. But what I like to tell the board when they scratch their head about how much money we're spending, it's a project that only a foundation could love. And probably only a foundation could pull off. But it is so critical because in the context of creating a vibrant, at least 15-hour-a-day community for RTP, this is the first time people are going to come to RTP for fun. We're going to program the heck out of that shed that you see there in the top image. That's about 3,500 square feet. So in addition to the decks that surround it, the food vendors that are going to be located there, by the way, Full Steam is there, a terrific barbecue concept called Lawrence's. Just Bayou is doing coffee there. We really are focused on local businesses, and having retail in RTP is just phenomenal. We had planned to open in December. Well, we had planned to open in the summer with C19. We've pushed it off till December. Actually, two of the tenants are going to, in fact, move in December because they really want to get into their kitchens and go forward. But we're now targeting our end of February, early March. We're calling it first day of spring opening of the box yard, and it's just going to be a phenomenon. We're very excited about it. I will say anybody who wants to do a shipping container community should probably call either Linda Hall, our CFO, or me, or Carolyn Coy, our head of real estate, and maybe we can give you some pointers about how you want to approach a shipping container community, because shipping containers and building codes are sort of mutually exclusive concepts. So we are going to be 100% code compliance, but it was hard to get there. But in a year from now, when all the stuff that's happening here is happening, I think everyone will forget the drama and the heartache to get it, and it will just be a really amazing anchor for our region. And then the project that everybody has been waiting so long for, Hub RTP, this is really a partnership. It's $1.5 billion investment for phase one. It's mixed use. So for the first time ever, there will be heads in beds sleeping in RTP, intentionally sleeping in RTP, I would say. This first phase is about 44 acres. 13 acres of green space and 6,000 direct jobs. Now, the reason why I call it a partnership is the funding, the way we've structured the developers for the group, it really is amazing. So just the infrastructure, the restoration of a existing open cut storm creek that runs through the site and restoring that into a recreational amenity and a environmentally sustainable facility that slows down peak loads at storm events and filters the water through the environment before it goes into the storm sewer. Just the infrastructure for this project is $105 million. We are called a foundation, but we're not the Rockefeller Foundation. And so we have had Durham County has partnered with us, and they're contributing $20 million to the creation of what will really be a regional recreational facility. The companies in RTP are so excited about this project that they, in fact, voted to self-tax themselves over 10 years to raise another $10 million to help us with the infrastructure. And the foundation is coming up with the rest, about $75 million of cash that went into acquiring, installing the infrastructure, and preparing the platform so that the project could be built. We have development partners. MAA Post is our residential development partner. The first phase of their project, which will get under construction next year, is 450 units of housing. We have KDC, which have been in our market for a while. Their regional offices in Charlotte, but they have developed both phases of the Credit Suisse campus and the RTP. Terrific partners who are not only responsible for building the office, but that we were so impressed with them that we hired them to do the construction on the infrastructure. They've engaged JLL as their international broker, and as hard as it seems that the market is right now, the feedback that we're receiving about this project is that C19 is forcing companies to rethink, particularly corporations, to rethink their whole strategy about what kind of facilities they need to be in. And even though they may be shrinking from 2 million square feet to 1 million square feet because they anticipate that people won't be in the office every day, the kind of space they need and the kind of environment they need within that building and around the building really isn't conducive to them just shrinking in place, but thinking about a completely different environment for their business. The reason why we chose KDC is that's really their sweet spot. They have worked with major corporations around the country to rethink their space and create new regional or office headquarters for companies. Their successes include the Toyota North American headquarters in Dallas, a new headquarters that they just built for Uber in Dallas, Frontier Energy. They built 2 regional headquarters for State Farm Insurance. Liberty Mutual is one of their repeat companies. And they have such a portfolio of helping companies do these projects and rethink the kind of space they need that they can actually bring companies to visit projects that they've done and say, you're not thinking about your space needs. You're not thinking creatively enough about your space needs. Listen to Toyota, listen to what they did, listen to State Farm and let them tell the story about, how they envision their new space. So we don't have the first tenant yet, but we are very excited that we have the right team to get there. So that's the construction and stuff. So I don't know if there are any questions before I add some provocative questions that Lee told me I could ask. So any questions, comments?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This is Sig, and this is stunning. And I want to talk as much about Scott as I do about RTP. RTP was one of the first research triangle parks in the world, and we got a reputation of being the best until we weren't, because the model that we had no longer worked. And we needed someone to create a research park for the 21st century. And so what we did is that we brought in the right guy to figure out how to do this, and that's Scott Levitan. And he's smiling now, but Scott, I got to tell you, during this presentation, we're on Zoom, right? And so nobody's paying attention on Zoom because you're on Zoom. So when you were talking, everybody was just dialed into what you were saying, because there was just such energy around what you're talking about. So whether it's the Frontier or the Hub or C19, which I've never heard that term, but I'm going to use it from now on, right? C19, right? You have dialed in the energy behind what RTP for the 21st century is going to be. So we started out in the 50s at being the world-class research triangle park. And now, because of Scott Levitan, we're going to be the 21st century research triangle park once again for the world. And what you're seeing is the evolution of how ultimately that's going to take place. And there's not a better place than the box yard, and how all of that's going to come together, and how people are actually going to be sleeping there by intention. I can't remember what you said, Scott, but by intention. We're going to have people living and working and playing in this space. So just thank you, Scott, for everything you're doing for the community. And maybe you can talk a little bit about what a 21st century research triangle park might look like. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sig. And you're always very kind. You make me blush. I really don't take credit very well, but I think that the reason why Sig is gushing so much is that it's the first time in my life I've ever seen him without a tie. So thank you for that. Oh, okay. So I don't know exactly how to answer that, because we're building the plane while we're flying it. RTP has always been an experiment. As everybody knows who knows the history, 5 years into it, the thing almost tanked. It almost went broke. We have had ups and downs, and I wish I could take all the credit for it, but I landed in the Triangle region when the world refocused on the opportunity here. And I want to talk about some of the things we probably need to address as a region. But I think the only thing that I've brought to it is enthusiasm, a love of design and architecture, and sort of experience that I've had working in other sites like Atlanta with Georgia Tech, Baltimore, a very challenging community with Johns Hopkins and the state, and way back when, Harvard Real Estate. And so this is a tremendous opportunity to share that. But what I'll what I'll say is the world has absolutely changed, and it changed before COVID was here. We have, when companies come to talk to us about thinking about locating in the region, the first people we speak with from those companies, and this was completely new for me because I'm a real estate person, I'm an architect by training. The first people on the call are the human resources vice executives, because all they care about is how are they going to attract people to come work at their facilities, and how can they do that at a price that they can afford. Every company is not Amazon or Apple, who just have as much money as they need to do what they want to do. So the wonder of being able to do hub in the triangle and combining that with really the renaissance of Raleigh and Durham and Chapel Hill, and the explosive growth of Cary and Cary rethinking its town center, and the fact that people can, if they want, they can live in a rural community and still be 30 minutes from their job at RTP. It really is a very unique story to be able to tell the world. And so it's about differentiating us from everybody else. And so, I can't tell you what this park is going to be. I hope that we don't, when I first came here, I was ignorant, and I thought, well, one of the things we probably need to start having a conversation about is relaxing the zoning in RTP. Come to find out that companies that like Syngenta, which Syngenta is an ag bio company, they leave their greenhouse on all night because corn wants to grow under conditions that corn wants to grow in. So for them to get a site where they can feel confident that they can make $100 million investment in a quote noxious activity, which is just leaving the lights on all night, for them to be sure that that investment is stable for 20 years, they would have to be far out from our urban core to be able to do that. And when they're there, it's a much more, and I know, there are a lot of counties here who would love to have Syngenta in their county, but it's a much more challenging argument to make for attracting talent from around the region. And so having these kind of campus opportunities within the core of our urban community is really important. We had a very large company come in that we talked with, and they have made an investment in RTP. At first we said, oh, well, we know you want to be in Hub. And they said, no, we don't want to be in Hub. We want a campus in the trees. We want what RTP is famous for. That's the kind of environment we want to build for our employees. And by the way, we're really glad you're building Hub, because our employees want to be able to get to Hub on the RTP Connect, which is a contract that Go Triangle has very creatively done with Uber and Lyft. So for $10, you get actually a free $10 voucher to go anywhere in RTP. So they pick you up at your front door, which has always been a problem. You don't have to walk to a bus stop. Pick you up at your front door, you get a $10 trip, and you can go to the box yard, you can go to the Go Triangle Metro Transportation Center. You can go to Hub when it's open. And it just really is a very cool, low-hanging fruit but high-tech solution to our last mile transportation challenges. And it'll bridge until some technology comes along that we want to invest in. But it's very efficient, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I'll just give you an example. Go Triangle has been very gracious in trying to provide intra-RTP transportation for many years. At one point, they had been spending, Ellen, you can keep me honest on this, but I think they had been spending about $750,000 a year and serving about 110 people a day. So this program, we're actually splitting the cost with Go Triangle. They've increased ridership without any advertising because it was a trial project, and the cost has come down to about $150,000 a year. So those kind of really creative solutions, we love working with our regional partners about those. Any other questions? So here's the one I really want us to roll up our sleeves a little bit about. So I've only been here 3 years, but what I understand is that for a long time, the Research Triangle Foundation took the position that the region will do what the region's going to do in terms of pretty important issues, and we'll react to them so that the region, TJCOG people, will make decisions about what happens in the region, and then, we'll do the last mile solution or whatever. And I think our team has been very fortunate to have a board that has allowed us to move forward and think about what role RTP plays in the region. I've lived in a lot of cities, as I mentioned before, and I think we have a tremendous opportunity in the Triangle to learn from some experiences of cities that have not gotten ahead of the game on some of these really important regional strategies, and they're suffering for it now. I lived in Atlanta 15 years ago. Traffic was really bad in Atlanta 15 years ago. Now it's just unbearable. It's even in the core, traffic is terrible there. So I am very pleased to sort of have stepped into the fray around mobility and transportation. I don't know what the combination of solutions is going to be, but there's a lot of investment and consideration going into it, and we have got to get ahead of the game on our regional transit strategy. And I do know that from my ignorant perspective, this is the challenge for TJCOG and others, because the funding strategy for transportation is county-based, and the transportation plans are county-based, and many people work very hard in the region, RTA, TJCOG, to sort of mesh those county strategies into a regional strategy. But it's just it's a sort of a systemic sort of challenge between trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. And I do hope that over the next year, with the commuter rail study, the FAST study that was just done, the investment that the counties are individually making in BRT and hoping they're all going to come together in a way that makes sense, RTF is very much committed to participating in that conversation in the planning for regional mobility. We were talking about STEM before our country realized that there are systemic discrepancies between the haves and have-nots in our country. It's become clearly very, the awareness around it has been tremendous over the past year. We had a STEM RTP program, which was very touch. We had a terrific director of it, Dr. Sarah Windsor. We had four STEM fairs each year. I hope some of you were able to experience those. Support from so many companies in the park and the school systems in the region. We realized in January that a heavy touch program was not going to be in the cards for a while, and so our charitable fund board asked us to think about rethinking our STEM RTP program, and so we are actually converting it into a grant-making program. And Leslie Walden is the new chair of the RTP Charitable Fund Board, and what we want to do with those resources is to help programs that are showing promise and have shown at a small scale, have shown success, and use our grants on a short-term basis, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, to help them scale up the successful programs that they've operating, so we can really get some scale within our schools. My personal opinion, I'm a product of public schools, as are my children. That is really where it all starts. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, so there's no objective, but our region has to make sure that our public school system provides equitable STEM training for all students. And then one of the things that we haven't started talking about as a foundation, but we really want to be engaged in and hopefully help push the string uphill. I've lived in a number of cities or experienced a number of cities that have very successful inclusionary housing programs. Washington, D.C., the program that Chapel Hill, it's a small area, but it still is a program that produces inclusionary housing with a tax on market rate housing that gets developed. Durham, I think Durham's housing strategy that was rolled out last year is phenomenal. But I think hopefully as we start to build housing inside of RTP, we can learn some of the examples of inclusionary housing as we negotiate with private developers to build housing in RTP and figure out a strategy to have true inclusionary housing, that there is workforce or affordable housing embedded in market rate developments, and the quality of the housing is the same. And yes, it is a subsidy from the market rate units and hopefully, some governmental subsidy, but that is the kind of housing that has been so successful in so many cities. And so those are three that we've thought of. Sustainability is on our list. I mentioned it in terms of our planning for Hub, but I'd love to hear whether these resonate, whether there are others that we should be thinking of that we're not thinking of. And we really want to work with TJ-COG to sort of push these initiatives forward and sort of get some traction.
Scott, this is Steve Rao.
Hi, Steve. Yes.
Hey, I'm wearing my Boxyard RTP hat. It's so good to see you. So I guess my quick question, just a quick comment and question is, a few weeks ago, I had a family friend, former CEO of Cisco, John Chambers, host our virtual startup summit. Lori Bush is on this call. She's worked for Cisco for many years. And Sig Hutchison was there. It was fascinating. He really challenged our group and many of the state leaders there of the STEM workforce pipeline and how much disruption there's taking place in the tech industry in terms of new jobs that are being created at such a fast pace that the educational systems can't keep up. And so he was saying that this is a major challenge for the United States, and he challenged North Carolina. He's even working in our home state of West Virginia to make it a startup state, to retool the whole state to make it a place where companies can accelerate. So I guess my question is, and he said India is doing it right. He's actually advising Prime Minister Modi in India right now. And he said India is accelerating startups. And so I guess at a really, really, really great rate. So I guess my question is, how can we, when you look at regional collaboration, how can we work with the RTP to make sure that we're bringing in industry leaders, and I'm speaking on the tech industry, so Cisco, Infosys, HCL, IBM, and then maybe the smaller tech kind of companies, to provide our community and our citizens the sort of a dashboard of the kinds of STEM skills that are necessary so that we can work regionally to make sure that we're accelerating not only the pipeline development, but even startup activity. If we had more startups, John says, that we're looking for talent, we could hire more people and create more jobs. So it's really going to throw the traditional economic development paradigm on its head, he says, where, he says your governor wants to bring in a big company and you throw in the incentives, but that model may change very quickly, especially after COVID-19, where John is saying that many people are going to be working remotely. You may see a shift away from offices. So I guess I just wanted to give you a perspective, and I think it's a good question to ask you, fitting well into your 21st century kind of plan, at least from workforce development and partnering.
Well, I'm glad I have an hour left to talk to y'all because
just 5 minutes.
You've hit on a favorite spot for me. So I'm going to just mention three things, Steve.
Yeah,
So
please. Yeah.
I met with Steve Yeager, who's the current site lead for Cisco, earlier this week, and he said exactly the same thing. We need more startup companies that Cisco can either invest in, buy, or partner with. That's where they see their talent coming from. It's like biotech companies. You have a big established bio company, they're great at marketing and production and all of that. But where they get their invention comes from the tech companies that's the model that made up biotech. And so we need to work on that. And I think we're hearing that from a lot of other companies in the park. They love being here, but they also love the Boston infrastructure when it comes to startup companies. We actually executed today, believe it or not, a memorandum of understanding with the Keenan Flagler School of Business at UNC. They have a program called the eShip program, entrepreneurship program. It does a couple of things. They're actually going to locate a facility in the frontier so that they can be with our companies. And they want to really get engaged with the companies in the park. It's hard to believe that UNC just doesn't have a focused strategy to engage their startups from the they have something called Launch Chapel Hill, which is for the companies, and then this eShip is more about getting students and inventors into internship programs with the companies. And when we presented it to our board with Vicki Gibbs, it was so funny because the Duke folks and the NC State folks, and we also have Johnson at Kinley on our board. He joined about 3 years ago. They were all like, "Oh no, you can't just do that with UNC. We want to be part of it." You're all welcome, But it is, Steve, I think, amazing that here we sit in the middle of the triangle with 210 companies, and a lot of them don't have the kind of natural, seamless relationship with the creative people who are, doing invention and creating companies at the university. So hopefully it'll be the start of something important.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all the great work you're doing.
Thank you. Any other questions? How about criticisms? I love to hear things challenges that we could work on. Oh, come on, people. Y'all are smart people. I know there are things that get under your skin.
No criticism, but I want to ask, I'm down in Moore County, how can we do a better job of feeling part of the research triangle? How can we do a better job of, us leveraging that, even though we're, two counties away?
Yeah.
And because we love that you're up the street, and we know how important that is to us. And, we have people working here, living here and working there. It happens. So I guess I could even bring it full circle on the mobility issue. I mean, we do have people commuting from here to there presently, but I'm more talking about how do we do a better job of even if it's just a yearly type of thing, just getting more connected with the triangle.
Well, region. I would love to sort of have a roll up your sleeves chat. I will share with you our experience in Warren County. I don't know if you all are familiar with it, but at a STEM event that I visited, they did an executive walk around. Folks wanted to bring sort of the school district leaders and some of the company leaders who invest in STEM, and we walked around. It was really an amazing experience. I'm going to miss it, but at that event, we met two people from Warren County. One was a guy named Stacy Woodhouse, who was the Warren County Economic Development Director, and the other was Robert Davey, who's the town manager for Warrenton. I'd love to have you meet them, and maybe, I'm sure they'd be happy to come if we wanted to have a scrumble at headquarters and socially distanced lunch or something like that. But they posited, Kevin, the exact question that you just asked. How does this extend into a county like Warren County? So what they did was they convinced us of the assets that Warren County had. So, for instance, Warren County has a teacher training VISTA program that brings, I think, 40 teachers into Warren County every year. They become excellent teachers, and then they just don't see themselves staying in Warrenton. And so they leave. And so they've started to build teacher housing. They actually subsidized a pub so that teachers could have some recreation to do after and socialization. And so we came up with this idea. They said, we want to do Frontier in Warren County. And so we said, all of our money is going into Hub, so we have no money to do that with. We can't contribute any money to it. They said, we don't want your money. We want a partnership with the foundation. And so we executed a partnership. Stacy Woodhouse has an amazing background. He worked for Jamestown Properties, one of the biggest real estate investment companies in the world. He's all of 40 years old, and he made a fortune, and he was traveling around doing some sales in North Carolina. He fell in love with Warrenton, and he quit Jamestown, bought a farm in Warren County, and he's living off the grid with his kids and his wife on a farm, and he brought his in-laws down, and they're running a farm. They have solar panels and all. So that's a lot of creativity, that we could tap. And Robert Davey formed a couple of companies, and he decided to live there. But, they started to introduce us to some of their assets in the county. So they have, because Lake Gaston is north of Warrenton, they've developed this whole quilting industry, not the people making quilts, but people selling the looms, people doing lessons, all that kind of stuff. So there's actually a culture of quilt making in Warrenton. One of the execs at Fidelity, who happens to have a house at Lake Gaston, decided this hardware store went out of business, and with their free cash, they decided they wanted to open a really cool deli in Warrenton, which is a very charming town, and I'm sure each county has those kind of similar charming towns. So it was just a serendipitous sort of accumulation of what Warren County had that made it unique, and how they could leverage that into an incubator, which is what they wanted. So they got one of the property owners on Main Street to give for no rent, actually, because he wasn't going to get any rent anyhow. 2 buildings, no rent, and they renovated. They scrounged some money. They renovated it into an incubator. So you sort of say, an incubator in Warrenton, right? Scientists are going to go to Warrenton. Well, Warrenton has its own entrepreneurial story. So there's a woman who formed a chocolate chip cookie company, and I got to tell you, every time Robert Davey drives down here to visit us, it takes him 3 hours to get here, because on the way he's delivering dozens of cookies to her customers, to help them. And it's just that kind of I don't want to spend all the time, but I would love to work with some of the Halo counties, and figure out what your collection of assets is and how we can, help leverage that. So
thank you.
And maybe we could do a field trip one day to Warren, and y'all could meet Robert and get bowled over by Stacy, and they have a new ED director for the county, and let's do it.
Well, I guess what I meant is the traditional situation is the ED director of the county gets connected with Research Triangle Park on a yearly or bi-yearly basis. And I don't know, I didn't know if that model, there could be a deeper relationship model than just like ED directors. So that's but you answered my question. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I will say RTRP, we're on the executive committee, as are each of the economic development directors from the Halo counties. I don't know if are you all in RTRP?
Yes, we are.
So if that model needs some tweaking, or if there's some way we can improve it, or if we get out of the meeting and we do something less formal or whatever, let's talk about it. Because if you remember my first slide, our goal was to increase the economic wealth of all the citizens of North Carolina, and we need to start taking that seriously because the divide is just getting greater and greater. And we can't be a great state if people are left out of the story.
Thank you.
Scott, this has been a great presentation, and your job, you're making Governor Hodges and Governor Sanford smile quite a bit.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. We'll close if Sally Green did have a comment about transportation. If you'd like to make a comment or a question, and then we'll go on to our next presentation.
Sure. No.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm sorry I get enthusiastic and I talk too much, but thank you, Don, for reining me in.
Well, thanks, Don. Just a quick comment, Scott. I'm really interested in your enthusiasm about two things. One is the transit plan. As you know, we in Orange and Durham County almost had a light rail. We came that close. And,
right.
So in the fallout of all of that, Orange County is going forward with a revised transit plan. And as county commissioner, I'm the co-chair of that policy committee. We're just getting started. And one of my worries, I think a lot of us have the worry that we really need to keep a focus on the regional aspect of it, because there's a center of gravity issue in staying focused on Orange County, which isn't helped by some politics that also want to keep us focused on Orange County. So there's that. I also want to have a separate conversation with you soon, I hope, about your exciting idea about inclusionary housing, because I do have a lot of experience in the Chapel Hill side that I'd be happy to share with you.
Well, thank you. And by the way, my home address is 314 Granville Road, Chapel Hill. So
no
just so
okay.
you know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to come. I really appreciate being able to present to you. Lee, thanks for the invite. I very much appreciate it. And anytime you want me to bore you another time, I'll come back.
Thank you, Scott.
But Lee, I think this needs to be an annual event. So just mark your calendar. Scott's not only doing a great job, he keeps us on our toes, right, Sig? So thank you very much.
Hey, so it's biannual, twice a year. But that's
Absolutely. I don't know if I can create enough new stuff twice a year, but thank you all. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you.
Good night.
Next is introduction of new Triangle J staff members: John Hodges Koppel, Erica Brown, and Lindsay Winston is next on our agenda.
Great. So I'll go ahead and start off by introducing Sean. It's actually a reintroduction because Sean worked for Triangle J before. He's going to be heading up our transportation demand management program. So, usually when we talk transportation, we spend a lot of time talking about the, billions of dollars we're going to spend on roads and new transit systems and pedestrian and bicycle facilities. And then we don't spend enough time thinking about how to encourage folks to use those. So we have a regional transportation demand management program that works with employers, including many of those in the Research Triangle Park and throughout the region, on encouraging commutes by methods other than single occupant vehicles. And so Sean, when he first worked for Triangle J, worked on that program. He also worked on our Triangle Clean Cities program. So the program that encourages the use of alternative fueled vehicles. And now he is going to manage both of those. And so we're so glad he's doing that. He has experience not only with our programs here at Triangle J, but he went on to work on similar programs down in Charlotte, then worked in consulting, so got great exposure to both of these topics, not only throughout North Carolina, but around the country. And then he's also heading up one of our projects, which is called the Alternative Fuel Resiliency Plan. So I'll let Sean introduce himself, but I can't tell you how thrilled I am that Sean agreed to come back and manage these programs starting in August.
Thanks, John. Hopefully everyone can hear me. It's an honor and a privilege to be back at TJCOG. Happy to be here, and I think maybe the agenda is running a little bit over, so I'll try to be quick. Maybe we move to the next slide, Renee, if you. So there's a little bit about myself. We can probably go to the next slide as well. And maybe the next one also. So John, Renee, and I like to joust between UNC, Duke, and NC State. So I'm a proud Wolfpack alumni. I did go to graduate school at Duke, but still very much a Wolfpack fan. But at any rate, yes, as John mentioned, I've been at TJCOG before through the Recovery Act, which was quite the experience. And grew up in Raleigh, so very much familiar with the Triangle area and happy to be a part of the team again. And Triangle J is a great organization. It's a fantastic team, and I'm very much happy to be part of it again. And very much appreciate, John, your kind words. And as you see there, I'm pretty sure that I lost that game down there in the picture, but at any rate, happy to be back. Thanks so much, everyone.
Of course you did, Sean.
Hey everybody, this is Erica Brown. I work on the housing programs at the COG, and tonight we are welcoming Jack Watson. He is with us and serving as our home repair administrative and engagement specialist this year. He joined us through the AmeriCorps program, which is really wonderful and a great opportunity for the COG to expand that. He started in September and he'll be with us through July. That's when the program ends. And he's primarily working with us on our home repair programs, doing the administration for those, working with the homeowners and the rehab specialists and the contractors, and has been a great help so far. He's working on programs in Durham, Harnett, Lee, and Orange County. So even beyond our region, he's working with them. And I've loved having him here. He's really enthusiastic and a wonderful team member, but I'll let him speak a little bit about himself.
Thank you for the introduction, Erica. I hope everybody can hear me. And yes, that's me. You can tell from the equally shiny forehead in both the picture and on right here. Okay, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Like Erica said, I just graduated. I have some experience with housing and community development and working with things like database management and fundraising. You can go ahead to the next slide, Elena. And as she said, I'm also working to facilitate these NCHFA loans, which I won't get bogged down into the details of. But we're just trying to increase TJCOG's capacity to work with homeowners, hopefully create a standardized process and, just make it more efficient for everybody. Go ahead to the next slide. And why TJCOG? This is my first job out of college, first big boy job. I really enjoy having a hands-on perspective on policy and dealing with a variety of work and interacting directly with a lot of different kinds of people. So that about wraps me up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Whitson. I'm the Senior Planner in Community and Economic Development at TJCOG, and I have the privilege of introducing two new staff members tonight. Similar to Jack, we have Alex Holloway. He is an AmeriCorps member as well and started in early September. And his main responsibilities are centered around providing and deploying economic resiliency related projects in the region, both on a local level and regional scale. And before Alex goes, I'll also just introduce our newest full-time staff member is Joseph Hoffheimer, and he'll be presenting and sharing about himself after Alex. But he just started last week, and he is working underneath our EDA CARES funding that we were awarded a few months back. And his job role is centered around working with COVID relief efforts and mitigation and recovery efforts throughout the region. And I'm happy to have both of them at TJCOG, and I'll let them speak about themselves.
Thank you, Lindsay, and hi, everybody on the call. It's really nice to be with y'all tonight. I guess we can go to the next slide. So I'm a recent graduate of the City and Regional Planning program at UNC. I studied housing and natural hazard mitigation while I was there, and prior to that, I went to Marquette University in Wisconsin. Similar to Jack, this is my first big kid job, but I have an interest in sort of collaborative planning and public-private partnerships, and so these are just some internships that I've done sort of related to that while I've been in school. So as Lindsay has mentioned, I'm assisting her with a lot of projects, especially the SETS, the regional planning for economic development for the next 5 years, and just helping with different economic resiliency language components within that and helping to administer them over the next 11 months. And then a little bit about me. I'm originally from Springfield, Illinois. It's right in the middle of the state, about 3 hours south of Chicago. I enjoy sort of getting outside, reading when I can, watching and playing sports and sightseeing. And so this is just one of my favorite spots in Springfield. It's the Dana Thomas House at the Frank Lloyd Wright home. It's really nice, especially sort of like during the holiday season. They have lots of cool lights, and in non-COVID times, they'll do like Christmas trees with inside, and different schools and organizations have like different sort of things. So if you're ever there, make sure to check it out. Likewise, please let me know of all different sort of sightseeing spots in your spots within your jurisdictions. Love to get to know the region more. And I told you TJCOG because just the variety of different people and communities and experiences makes it really exciting to do planning work here. So with that, I'll pass it off. Thank you.
It's Alex. Like everybody else, I'm also excited to be here. We can just jump to the next slide. And as with Alex, I also obtained my master's in city and regional planning at UNC Chapel Hill this year. Internship with Self-Help as a real estate development intern, served as an analyst on economic development projects at the Keenan Institute. And I also was the specialization coordinator for economic development at the Department of City and Regional Planning. My planning education started at Vassar College in New York, where I got my BA in urban studies. And we can jump to the next slide. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that we jumped to the next slide. Long day, I apologize. So in addition to what Lindsay already said about the position, this is a economic development administration supported position. And so that's a fairly broad umbrella, but it includes a lot of economic development and potential planning projects as well. So this could include technical assistance, regional data analysis, grant writing, strategic planning. We're always seeking out opportunities to coordinate with public and private partners, of course. That can be, anything from, member governments to small businesses. And due to the changing scope of the projects and stuff, you're welcome to, direct any questions to me via email. And I've listed my email at the bottom of the screen here. Next slide, please. So fun facts and why I chose TJ Cog. I'm originally from Oxford, Mississippi, about an hour and a half southeast of Memphis. Haven't lived there for a while. Was in Pittsburgh for several years. The last thing I did before moving here from there was actually bike from there to Cleveland, which was a really instructive experience. Really made me appreciate good regional planning in some places, and then the lack thereof in others. I'm excited about the position specifically just because of how versatile and interdisciplinary it has the potential to be. And then, of course, getting to make a difference in our region during this, really uniquely challenging time. And then, finally, I chose the region because of the great experience here in graduate school, but also kind of as Alex was saying, just the variety and diversity of communities within it. All the communities we have represented tonight, it keeps the area really interesting from a planning perspective, but it also just makes it an exciting place to live as well. So that wraps up my presentation, and look forward to working with all of you.
Welcome to Triangle J, staff. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the application for foreign trade zone for libel, Farsham, and Renee, I probably killed that name, so you make sure you correct me. But I'll turn it over to Renee Boyette for the foreign trade zone.
Thank you, Chairman Raines. I'll probably butcher their name as well. But thank you for the time on the agenda. At last week's FTZ board meeting, we had a presentation from Alyssa Corson and Justin Kappelman from Libel Flarsheim, and they are asking for Triangle J's endorsement of their application for a usage-driven site with production authority. At the meeting, the FTZ board endorsed the sponsorship of the application, so now it comes to the Triangle J board for the same action. So right now, you're going to get the presentation from Alyssa and from Justin, and then the action will be taken with the consent agenda. So I'll introduce Alyssa Corson and Justin Kappelman from Libel Flarsheim. They'll give us the correct pronunciation in a minute, and let them take it away.
Okay, great. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, hopefully. Okay, good. My name's Alyssa Corson. I'm with Libel Flarsheim Company, which is a Gerbet Group company. Gerbet is a French company, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. But I just want to thank everybody in the Triangle J board for having us tonight. I see some familiar faces from last week, and it's just really a pleasure to be presenting our company to you tonight. With me, I brought Justin Kappelman, who's our plant director, and Justin's going to be narrating most of our presentation, and I'll be driving. So Justin, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. Don't worry about the name. I had some trouble with it to start with. Libel Flarsheim, something like that. It'll work. Thank you, Alyssa. So I'm going to run through some things pretty quickly with you. I know we're pretty late on the agenda, but a beautiful spot right here on the corner of Capitol and Durant Road in Northeast Raleigh, about 23 acres from an aerial view there. Next slide. Give a breakdown of our leadership team. So we've got actually a couple of open positions now, but this is a look at site directors, and we've got a total of about 207 people that work here on site. Okay. So we have actually been here for quite some time. So back in 1974, we started manufacturing. We've got a young lady who's actually been here that whole time, Miss Deborah, in the back near the warehouse, and the quality group has been here. And we've actually changed names many different times. We also are right next to what was our last suitor, I would say. Mallinckrodt is still right next door, and 5 years ago we were purchased by the Gerbet Group, and it's been a fantastic ride so far. Fast forward to 2019, we actually launched our first product in 25 years out of this site. So we've got some pretty exciting things just around the corner, and a new one we should be launching again in a couple of years. So a little bit about the facility. So 141,000 square feet or so, about 20 acres right here on the corner. 205 growing to about 236 by the end of next year as we continue to grow. We make syringes and glass bottles. So we have a cost of production of around 140 million with an annual production of 12.1 million units, 60% of which are domestic and 40% international. So we provide products to the US, Latin America, Asia Pacific, Canada, and EMA, basically everything except Iran, I would say. Contract manufacturing also for a generator, which used to be part of Mallinckrodt, which is now Curium. The products that we make, about 270 different SKUs, X-ray and MR contrasts, and we also have saline syringes and the eluent vials that I spoke of with Curium. The glass we fill anywhere from a 5 mil up to a 500 mil, and syringes anywhere from a 10 mil to a 125. 2 formulation tanks, 4 filling lines, 2 production sterilization chambers, and 2 glass packaging lines with an additional syringe packaging line on top of that. Okay. So we are approved to run products through the FDA, HPRA, GCC, and Anvisa. So we have plenty of audits all the time. Our most recent audit with the FDA, we passed with 0 483s, no observations to speak of there. So a member in good standing with all of these agencies. A quick look at layout of the site, just to give you an area view. We have receiving and quarantine, and then components storage, high bay and a regular bay shipping warehouse aligned in the back of the site, which we've recently held a few Kaizen events to better the flow there. Syringe packaging and glass packaging in a semi controlled environment. And then we have clean room environments, 2 of them, as you can see in the light blue on the right side there for any Tar Heel fans. And then chemistry lab and small packaging lots to the bottom left. I'm a Citadel grad from South Carolina, by the way, so I have no ties to any of the teams from that standpoint. We had a bad basketball team, so. And then just an idea of the flow of our products. So we are the only fill and finish site within North America for all of Gurbet. Most recently, we have decided Gurbet actually sold our site in Canada, and all of their products over the next 2 years will be coming here. So we're going to almost double in size from a throughput standpoint. We have a receiving area. We formulate the product here. The API and excipients come in. We formulate them, fill them, sterilize, and then ship them, terminally sterilized through our autoclaves, and then ship right here off of Durant Road over to a third-party logistics company in Durham. Go ahead. Just a breakdown of the different products that we make. We talked about X-ray and MR contrast. So we've got a product called OptiRay, Conray, and Cysto Conray. These are products that we've had for quite some time that came over in the CMDS deal with Mallinckrodt over to Gurbet. So Gurbet purchased that. And then recently, of course, we have Doderum. That's the product that we've launched, the first one in 25 years from this site, but it's been made, I think, since 1989 on the French market from our Aulnay site over near our headquarters in Villepinte, France. Okay. So Doderum, that's the product we're going to talk a little bit about, and then why we're interested in this, of course. But it is a gadolinium-based contrast agent, approved in over 70 countries. We've been running it for quite some time, just not at this site until 2019. More than 100 million global doses that have been administered since 1989. And it is the first macrocyclic product that's been sold here in the U.S. And I've got a degree in physics and not chemistry, so I'll save that for the smart people. But suffice it to say, macrocyclic is safer. It protects the element and molecule to make sure that once it is in your body to show the contrast, it exits your body without breaking down and causing any toxicity issues. Pre-filled syringes in 10 mil, 15, and 20, and then vials 5, 10, 15, 20 as well. So glass and vial, and we are now currently the only site within the company that produces plastic syringes. So utilizing the FTC, you want to go over this one, Alyssa? You want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. So what we're here for today is primarily to talk about using a foreign trade zone for doterum production. All of the other products that Raleigh site has made this entire time has had either domestic sourced API or it has been included on the customs pharmaceutical appendix in the HTS. So all of our foreign source products have been duty free until now. So this is why we're exploring the foreign trade zone. So incoming, there is an ingredient called DOTA, which is a chelating agent. It's not an API, so therefore it's not on the pharmaceutical appendix. It's dutiable at 6.5% of value, and there's 148.2 kilograms of DOTA needed in one batch of finished doterum. So that means that in the last calendar year, we spent about $430,000 in duty. And we are only just ramping up production from now on. As Justin was saying, we're going to be the primary source of pre-filled syringes of doterum worldwide. And so the projected is going to be about $650,000 going forward every year and growing. So, of course, you know, the foreign trade zone with production authority seemed to be a really good solution for us to not have to pay the duties. We're really hoping on taking advantage of the inverted tariffs because doterum, the finished product, is put up for individual packaging for dosage. And what we're going to do is when it leaves the zone, it will be duty free. So there's 101 SKUs of doterum. It's all based on the dosage, the milliliter, and the destination. And so we're going to, as Justin mentioned, it will leave the zone and go directly to the domestic 3PL. So we won't be exporting directly from the plant. It's supplied to 32 different countries, all from the Raleigh 3PL. So again, we won't be exporting directly from the FTZ. And the most appealing part to us is that it's duty free. And so we can really take advantage of those inverted tariffs. Now, also, this is the most exciting part. Our facility is now being tested actually to come out with a new product in 2021 and 2022. That ingredient, that drug contains an ingredient that is going to have a 3.6% duty rate, and we'll be bringing that in high volume as well. So we think once we get started and once we get the hang of things with the DOTA imports, we'll be ready to take on the new product and the new raw material that's coming in. So Justin, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, so a little bit of the impact of doterum here at the Raleigh site. So again, launched in 1989, seems like a long time ago. It was a good year though. 2013, we received FDA approval for sale and clinical use in the U.S. So we've been selling this product in the U.S., but it's been manufactured at I think 3 different manufacturers that were manufacturing it for us. We're just now currently approved now through Raleigh to make this product both in glass and vials. So we've taken that back from our contract manufacturers and continuing to produce product for the U.S. market straight from Raleigh. And a strong performing product in the Raleigh plant. So this is a key part of our success in the plant. We've got quite a few jobs that we've been able to both retain and create. So if you look at the products overall that we're manufacturing in the site, a lot of them have been manufactured here for 30 and 40 years. This allows us to continue the retention of new jobs in the area and also create new ones. We've got quite a few folks that are going to be coming in that we've been able to attract because we're now making this in plastic syringes. It's a little bit different technology. And so we've been able to attract a few people that are interested in that particular product. Okay. So we've got folks, again, I think I mentioned I'm from South Carolina, so a few of these were new to me. I'm learning as I go. I think I've been told quite a few times, make sure you know where Nash County is. That one's important. Right, Alyssa?
Yeah, I'm in Wilson County personally. Lou.
So I'm learning these as I go, but fantastic representation. We've got folks from all over that have found Raleigh to be home for them for quite some time and have worked here for several years. So it's good to see a very good mix. I think we mentioned earlier in another part of the presentation, people coming from both the urban and the rural side of things. So being in the northeast corridor of Raleigh is very attractive to many, including myself and my family who live in Wake Forest. Salaried, 82% have college education. The average age is 47 with service years of 9 years. And anywhere from 190 to 207, 205, going up to a budget that we have in approval right now at our corporate headquarters for about 236 for next year. Okay. Wanted to mention, and I think this is super important. I think what makes a fantastic culture and our ability to really do great things. We've got a great mix of folks who are highly engaged in what we're trying to do here at the Raleigh site, and they've welcomed me with open arms. I appreciate that, and I'm glad to be part of this. But we've started a Gerbe basketball team, a bake-off. We have, of course, been part of the Race for the Cure. We've had a coat drive. We have a hiking club, Valentine's Day celebration. All of these were started by our associates in the site. An on-site college fair, Habitat for Humanity. And then on top of that, even after COVID, once we've got going, we wanted to make sure that we were creative and kept this going to make sure that we gave people an outlet to get to. So Culture Film Festival, we've just had this past week, a virtual painting class, a virtual bike ride, a virtual Alzheimer's, virtual to all of these, right, as we're getting into the COVID way, finding new ways to creatively stay together and do great things. So I'm proud of my site, I'm proud of our team, and it's a great time to be part of Raleigh Bay. So that is, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do here in Raleigh. I'll open it up for questions. And again, I want to thank the committee. Thank you very much for seeing us this evening and let us be part of this and present this to you.
So if you have questions for Justin or Alyssa, feel free to be part of the agenda now.
Chairman Raines, I'd also like to see if Tom, Rebecca, or Bill have any comments. They did hear the presentation as well last week, not last year.
And Ellen.
I think she left.
Okay.
Renee, this is Tom. I would just say congratulations on another outstanding presentation. This was so informative. Our foreign trade zone board enjoyed it. And thank you for what you're doing for our community, not only for the jobs and the capital investment, but for your investment in social activities and community development and philanthropic investments. That's just noteworthy and commendable.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
This is Rebecca. I think that we really felt the Foreign Trade Zone Board a very enthusiastic, hope for your application and endorsement and a high recommendation to this board to also give their endorsement. So thank you for all that you're doing and your investment in our region. This is very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? If not, Renee, I know that you have a recommendation and it will be part of our consent agenda.
Yes, if there are no other questions, I would like to ask the Board of Delegates to endorse Triangle J sponsorship of the Liebel-Flarsheim application for a usage-driven site with production authority. And
Thank
that
you.
will be taken via the consent agenda.
Thank you, and appreciate the presentation and look forward to working with y'all.
Thanks again.
The next on our agenda is the nominating committee report for the foreign trade zone. And I know Rebecca knows how to move fast. I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca Salmon for the nominating report.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Don. The committee had a great meeting, and we were happy that several of our current appointees were gracious enough to agree to continue serving if you should choose to reappoint them. And so we have nominated for reappointment Tom White, Steve Brantley, and Bo Carson to continue serving on the board. And then we had the tough job of finding a replacement for Ellen. But the board has recommended the appointment of Lori Bush from Cary to join the Foreign Trade Zone board and bring her expertise to the team, which I think will be phenomenal. And then the nominating committee has also nominated Tom White to remain as chair and Bill Haggis to now serve as our vice chair for the committee. So that is our nominating committee report.
Is Laura Bush on our Zoom meeting?
She was here, but I don't see her now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rebecca. And this will be, your report will be on our consent agenda to approve unless someone chooses to pull any of the items off the consent agenda. And so my next item is to appoint the nominating committee for 2021. And it's been tradition that we have our former chairmans at Triangle J as our nominating committee. So Jim Crawford will be on the nominating committee, Ronnie Curran, Rebecca Salmon, Jennifer Robinson, Pamela Baldwin, and I would like to appoint Jim Crawford as the chair for the nominating committee. So that will be on the consent agenda as well. And our next item is Lee has sent everyone a memo regarding the merit increases and has a unique way of benefiting all the employees.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be as quick as I can. Just as a reminder, when this board approved the budget for the organization back in May, I asked you to hold off on approving the merit increases for Triangle J Council of Government employees that were eligible because we did have some uncertainty in our budget around a few items due to COVID-19. I'm happy to report that those uncertainties have been resolved due to the hard work of staff working mostly with the State Department of Transportation around a few issues in our transportation focus area. So when the board adopted the budget, you gave me authority to actually award a merit without having to come back to the board. But after observing the really good and stellar work of our staff, I wanted to propose a slightly different way of doing merit this year. And just to be safe, I wanted to present it to the board for you all to consider and adopt under the consent agenda. So what I'd like to do is, rather than doing a 3% merit, I'd like to award a 2% merit increase effective November 1st, which is the beginning of a payroll period, for any employee that was eligible for a merit increase on the 1st of July of 2020. So that does not include all Triangle J employees. So to be eligible for a merit, you had to meet expectations or you had to be with the organization in your current position for a certain amount of time. So there were, for a variety of reasons, there are some employees that would not have gotten a merit increase due to either performance or time of service in position. I want to just say again and stress how proud I am and what a superb job all staff have done with our response to COVID, being flexible, working from home, juggling all the responsibilities. I know some staff have had to probably reach into their own pocket to make their home office more compatible for working. We've done the best we can to pay for those when we can, but I know many staff members have probably spent personally, and they've also just done a really good job. And so for that reason, with the remaining money that we budgeted for a merit, I'd like to award a $700 one-time bonus to every single Triangle J full-time staff employee that was part of the organization on the 1st of July. For those part-time employees, we would award them their budgeted percentage of that $700 and would like to make that one-time bonus payable on our November 6th payroll check. Also, really quickly, Mr. Chair, just for transparency, I think it's important to let the board know how that impact the pay of the executive director, of myself. So the executive committee does my performance evaluation. The executive committee voted in September to award me any merit that would be awarded to all the other employees. So that would mean that I would be eligible for the 2% increase, but I would not include myself in the $700 bonus. I think that's important for staff to get, and I don't need to be included in it. So, Mr. Chair, that's my recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I would ask for the board's action on this under the consent agenda so that we can award our staff for a job well done. Thank you.
Any questions? The officers had reviewed this previously, and we thought Lee did a great job in making equity to all employees. But if there's questions, feel free to ask.
I guess my one question, it's under the budgeted amount, right? Because of the 2%.
That is correct. And that's important. So two things, it allows us to do this within the budgeted amount this fiscal year, so we don't have to allocate any additional dollars. Mm-hmm. And also by awarding the $700, it actually gives a greater percentage total compensation to lower paid employees than it does to our higher paid employees. And I think that's important to point out as well. So yes, sir, Mr. Drum.
Thank you.
Hearing no other questions, this recommendation will be on our consent agenda. And now we are ready to review the consent agenda and move forward on the vote. And on the consent agenda in front of you is the resolution for memory and honor of Ronnie Williams, resolution in memory and honor of John Grimes, the libel Flesham request for sponsorship, and the nomination committee for the foreign trade zone, the approve the advisory council on aging bylaws waiver request, and approve August 26th Board of Delegates minutes, and approve the recommendation of the staff merit increase. So if there's
so moved. I was just gonna move it.
Second.
I'll second.
So the motion was made by Deandra Freeman.
Yes. Yes, in Durham.
Durham. And who made the second?
I did. Commissioner Ferguson.
Okay. Thank you. So the motion is on the floor to approve the consent agenda, and this will be a roll call vote. When the town is called and your name is called, either for or against.
Wilma Laney,
Wilma Laney votes aye.
Bob Smith,
Yes.
Brett Gant,
Aye.
Mark Wilson,
4.
Jerry Medlin. Did I see you come into the meeting? Okay. Randy Haven O'Donnell,
Can you hear me? Aye.
Jennifer Rush,
Aye.
Diana, Diana,
Yes.
thank
Aye.
you. Deidreana Freeman,
Aye.
Larry Smith,
Aye.
Ken Marshburn,
Aye.
Kathleen Ferguson,
Aye.
Sean McGrath,
Aye.
Butch Walter,
Aye.
Jessica Day,
Jessica Day. Aye.
Amy Dalrymple,
Aye.
Steve Rao,
Aye.
Sally Green,
Aye.
Kevin Drum,
4.
Pamela Baldwin,
Aye.
Donald Rains,
Aye.
Ronnie Curran,
Aye.
Rebecca Salmon,
Aye.
Aaron McAllister, Bill Hagus,
Aye.
Andy Moore,
Aye.
Sig Hutchinson,
Sid has left the meeting.
Chad Sayre,
Chad Sayre votes aye.
Larry Laux,
Larry Laux, 4.
and is there anyone that joined the meeting since the roll call?
I did. Thomas Bill.
Oh, Tommy. Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. That's unanimous.
Yeah, it is unanimous. So thank you. And we're running a little bit of overtime, but we'll try to wrap up as quickly as we can. And I'll turn it over to Lee for the executive director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to highlight a few things that I'm really thrilled about that staff's done a great job on. And this is probably not an inclusive list, but there are things that have come to my attention in the last month or so. One is we're really pleased that the town of Selma has asked us to assist them with their town manager search. And so we are working with the town on that process. So thank you. I know Byron's on here. We appreciate that opportunity to assist.
We're excited to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We were notified a day or two ago that we were selected by Chatham County to do their pay and class study. That is through a partnership with the Piedmont Triad Regional Council. They have a outstanding HR program, but they work with us to assist our member governments with doing those types of studies. So we appreciate Chatham County selecting our team to do that. Was notified today that we got a new grant in our water resources area. It's called a 205J grant. There are grants that are available to COGS to do water projects within the region. And it was actually the first grant that one of our staff members had gotten in her role with water resources. So she was very excited about it. And we certainly celebrated that success with her. Another really cool program that we've been awarded on the water resources side is we have been asked, and we're under contract now with the city of Raleigh and the city of Durham to actually administer their watershed protection program. And so what that means is that we'll be helping Raleigh and Durham spend about $2.3 million every year. About $250,000 of that is to help conservation agencies that do good work to find pieces of property that need to be preserved for watershed protection. And then we will be passing through about $2 million a year from the cities to actually purchase those properties to put them under protection for watershed. So we're really proud of that, to be asked to administer that program, and adds to our portfolio of water resources projects. I want to congratulate staff and everybody else that did such a great job on our modified regional summit, which was virtual. It was well received by a lot of folks. And we'll be talking more about the regional summit at your November meeting to get your input and to share some observations. But I just wanted to congratulate folks on that. Also, we have been asked by some of our member governments in Riot, which is a nonprofit organization that works with technology, to actually take on administration of a regional data sharing project. The first case study for that group was around stormwater, and we're really excited to be involved in that and think it could be a key to helping to bolster our position as the regional data hub. There's some other things that are going on that we're not quite ready to talk about yet, but exciting as well. And then finally, our Area Agency on Aging remains very busy with COVID-related items. One item that our AAA director and myself have been talking about is the state's recent guidance around the potential of our long-term care ombudsman beginning to return to long-term care facilities. It is a difficult thing to balance, getting ombudsmen into facilities, protecting the health and safety of our ombudsman, and also protecting the health and safety of the residents in those facilities. The guidance that the state has provided, I have some questions about, and they've been very open to those questions from a number of AAA directors, and we hope to be talking to the state in the next few days. So as you can see, there's a lot going on. Our staff remains hard at work and very proud of all the great things that they're doing. Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to take a few minutes to talk about some things going on.
Thank you, Lee. And Elena, thank you for the great summit. And we look forward to making a further review of the future of the summits, the November meeting. My comments are brief. Good luck to everyone running for re-election in 2020. And in May 2021 be a better year, and may we no longer maybe finding some answers to COVID-19 for everybody's health, and have the economy moving in the right direction. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Elena, who's developing around the region. She's got some questions about what we may be doing in the future.
So I actually, my suggestion, just because I know that the meeting is going late, I have two questions. One, which I think would be a great question for our next meeting. So I may present this to you as something to come to our November meeting with, and that's in relation to the rest of the year. So Obviously, 2020 is coming to a close slowly but surely. We'll be in a new year. And so the question we were originally planning to pose to all of you, barring time or if time permitted, was what you hope to achieve in your community before the end of the year. So I am going to, unless someone has something they really want to share, push that to our November meeting. So feel free to take a month to think about it, or a little bit less than a month because we have an early meeting because of Thanksgiving. November 18th, come to share what you hope to achieve before the clock strikes midnight on 2021. The other question, which we can all answer today, which is very relevant to upcoming events, is what your favorite Halloween candy is. And that is the question that we are going with for this October meeting. So feel free to share in the chat or the comments. That way we have kind of a short, and if you have any other exciting things you really want to share from your community. So.
That's a lot of fun to think about Halloween and or virtual Halloween, however we're going to experience it. So we need a little bit of fun in life. So if you put those comments in your chat box, and does anybody have anything they need to share or want a desire to share that's going on in your community?
Yes, this is Mark Wilson. If you haven't voted, please do.
Hearing no more, we'll put that in for Elena's suggestion box and enjoy Halloween the best that we can, whether it's with family or community activity or otherwise enjoying Halloween. So is there any other business before us? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? It's been a great meeting, and report from the RTP Foundation and just all the seeing Ellen again. We've really, it's been fantastic. So thank you for participating.
So moved.
I think there's a motion to adjourn. All in
I'll
favor, say aye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Hi, John Boy.
Thank you, everyone.